The new Tremolo2 can be controlled with MIDI. In this video, I'll show you how. One of the big changes to the Tremolo2 was the addition of the control port. This lets you control the Tremolo2 with expression pedal, control voltage, external tap tempo, and MIDI. To control the Tremolo2 with MIDI, you'll need to connect the control port to the Empress MIDI box. The MIDI box takes the 5-pin standard MIDI cable and converts it to the 2-conductor standard guitar patch cable. One MIDI box can simultaneously support up to 4 Empress pedals equipped with control ports. Connect the standard 5-pin MIDI cable from your MIDI controller to the MIDI box. Then connect one of the control port outputs on the MIDI box to the control port of the Tremolo2. Next, you'll have to configure the Tremolo2 to listen for MIDI messages. This is done using the Advanced Configuration menu. To enter the Advanced Configuration menu, first unplug the power. Now hold down both stomp switches and plug the power back in. The bypass LED should blink twice to confirm that you're in the Advanced Configuration mode. In the Advanced Configuration menu, you'll have to configure the control port for MIDI operation and choose which MIDI channel to use. To set the control port for MIDI, first move the waveform toggle switch to the center position, then turn the rhythm selector to the number 6. Now to set the MIDI channel, move the waveform toggle to the right and move the rhythm selector to a number between 1 and 8. The number you choose will be the MIDI channel that the Tremolo2 will operate on. In this case, I'll set it to MIDI channel 1. We've now configured the Tremolo2 for MIDI. To exit the Advanced Configuration mode, press both the stomp switches at the same time. The bypass LED will blink twice, confirming that you're exiting the Advanced Configuration menu, and the pedal will boot up normally, ready for use. Now that the pedal's all set up for MIDI, let's start sending MIDI messages to control it. There's a few things you can do with MIDI. You can change presets using program change messages. You can set individual parameters using control change messages. And you can control the tempo with MIDI beat clock. Okay, so we're in a new project in Nuendo here. And this will pretty much be the same with any DAW you're using. So the first thing to do is create a new MIDI track and set the output to the MIDI hardware that's connected to your Tremolo2. Now set the channel to match how you have your Tremolo2 configured. To load a preset, we need to send the Tremolo2 a program change message. To do that, first draw an event on the timeline and then click here to edit in place. I'll drag this up so we can see a little better. In this drop-down, select Program Change. Now we can use the pencil tool to draw in program changes. So say at bar 13, I want to switch to preset 5. I just have to draw it in here. We can change any parameter on the Tremolo2 using control change messages. Here's a chart of the parameters available and their corresponding control change numbers. So back in our DAW, we can use the same MIDI track to send a control change message. First, I'll enable automation, and I'll click here to show the automation. Then I'll select the control change message that I want to send. Let's bypass the pedal. So that would be control change number 36. Now we can use the pencil to draw in control change values here. For bypass, sending a value of 127 engages the pedal, and sending a value of 0 bypasses the pedal. Other controls, like depth, you can assign a value anywhere between 0 and 127. And this will be like turning the knob. 0 would be all the way counterclockwise, and 127 would be all the way clockwise. So let's add another automation track, and we'll set it to control change 20 to control the depth. Now I can draw in some automation to control the depth. There's another cool thing that can be done with control changes, and that's direct control. With direct control, you can manually control the volume envelope on the Tremolo2. The direct control change message will override anything that the Tremolo2 is doing. To set it up, set the automation track to control change number 40 for direct control. Now I can draw in my own waveform here for the tremolo to follow. Once a direct control message is received, the Tremolo2 will stay under direct control until it has sent a message to exit direct control. To exit, send a message with any value to control change 50. You can synchronize the tempo of your Tremolo2 with your DAW using MIDI clock. To send out MIDI clock messages, you'll need to set it up in the project synchronization setup. Look for MIDI clock destinations and check the outputs on which you want to send MIDI clock messages. Click OK, and now when we play our project, the tremolo will be locked in with the tempo of the project. By default, the Tremolo2 will listen for MIDI clock messages. If you'd like the Tremolo2 to ignore MIDI clock, you can turn off the MIDI clock listener by sending in the Tremolo2 a value of 0 on control change number 51. While synchronized with MIDI clock, you can adjust the ratio to multiply the tempo. You can also do some cool stuff like adjusting the phase of the waveform. Control change 27 lets you move the waveform forwards or backwards in time with the clock. A value of 64, which is the default, sets the loudest point of the waveform to the downbeat. Smaller values will move the waveform back in time, and larger values will move it forward. For example, a value of 32 would have a waveform that's 180 degrees out of phase with the downbeat. So the Tremolo2 would have its loudest part halfway in between the beats. So that covers the basics of using MIDI with the Empress Tremolo2. It really opens up a ton of possibilities, especially in the studio. So be sure to check out the other videos on the Tremolo2 and check out our website at empresseffects.com. Thanks for watching.